In the wake of a war, how the victor treats the vanquished matters. And history's full of examples of victors doing it right and victors doing that wrong. Think about the Civil War. Had the North not made some accommodations and had a holistic attitude about their former foe, then the Union would not have been reestablished. Obviously, we didn't solve every problem, particularly racism in the South, but the Union was reestablished, and the rest is a work in progress. It's fairly accepted in history that the Treaty of Versailles that ended World War I was misconstructed to the degree that it created the Third Reich and led to World War II. And at the end of World War II, how MacArthur treated the population of Japan and how folks like Marshall treated the Germans led to them re-emerging on the world stage in a productive way, those two countries, Japan and Germany. Now, that doesn't suggest that everybody was let off the hook. War crimes were conducted, guilty were punished. Nuremberg trials is a great example of that. But there wasn't an overreach, which is to say, if you were ever a member of the Nazi Party, there's no way that you could be a German citizen going forward. Now, fast forward to the Iraq War and our policy of de-Baathification, which Ambassador Bremer tried to institute, which was to say, if you had anything to do with Saddam Hussein, you couldn't be part of this government that we're forming in the wake of the invasion and toppling Saddam. And that proved to be folly because it was an overreach. It was too categorical, painted with too broad a brush, and in fact, it created an insurgency that we had to deal with. So the Donald Trump presidency has divided the nation in all kinds of unprecedented ways. We haven't been at war, so let's not overstate it. But we have been challenged along all kinds of lines: race, gender, regional location, urban versus rural, economic. I mean, only Donald Trump could make watching the NFL a political matter. But now the reality show has been canceled. And although we don't know what Donald Trump intends once he's out of office in terms of whether he's going to try to run again in 2024, let's just guess that he's going to fade from the spotlight. And certainly the media dominance will wane. So what do we do with MAGA and Trump supporters? Well, let's divide them into basically three different categories. One is the hardcore types. These are the Stephen Millers, Ann Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, Rudy Giuliani. All three of the press secretaries, especially Kelly McInerney, because she very much has lied to the American people on a frequent basis. Obviously, the Trump kids and Jared, there's no salvaging them, nor do they want to be salvaged. They're not going to suddenly split from their dad. There are certain lawmakers, particularly those who on the GOP side were visible during the impeachment hearings: Jim Jones, Dan Crenshaw, Matt Gaetz. They did the nation a disservice by bending the facts to support, without any concern about the good of the nation, to support Donald Trump. And then there are the media personalities like Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Alex Jones, in a very extreme case. And then the second tier, Seb Gorka, Dan Bongino. Those guys have done too much harm to be welcomed back into the fold. if they even desire to be. And then there's the never were's, mostly all the best generals like Mattis and McMaster, Kelly. Maybe Reese Priebus could be put into that category. You know, head of the RNC, first chief of staff, got out without too much damage. And then you could say Paul Ryan was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because you remember, initially, he refused to endorse Donald Trump early on, and then he became the first lawmaker agent for Trump. But let's say that, again, he didn't overcommit, where he couldn't come back into the national fold if he wanted to. And then there's those who sought asylum, if you will, in the court of public opinion, like the Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, after a very short stint as the communications director. And then Joe Walsh, media personality, and of course, his former fixer, Michael Cohen. Now, then there's everybody else. And increasingly, we're going to see folks having a change of heart. And here's a good example. This is a tweet video that, of all people, Geraldo posted last night.
Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday, December the 20th. If you haven't done your shopping, better get it going. I just wanted to talk to you again. I know I sound like a broken record, but last week I complained about Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, the former Florida congressman who is now the head of the Texas GOP, the Texas Republican Party, saying something like Texas and the other like-minded states should form a union of other states that believe in the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. In essence, Colonel West was saying that there should be, a union aside from the United States of America, which is, of course, our union per the Constitution. So I thought that, frankly, Alan West was sounding crazy. Now, the neighboring state actually won over. In Arizona, Kelly Ward, the GOP chairperson in Arizona, is now saying basically the same thing. She's waiting for President Trump, to cross the Rubicon, which is kind of a crude reference to Julius Caesar when he had the Roman legions and Rubicon, the river that divided Rome from the rest of the Roman Empire in Europe. So he had to decide, Caesar did, whether to cross the Rubicon. Once he did, then it was civil war, and Julius Caesar essentially became the dictator of Rome. This is absolutely lunatic, fringe stuff. And the president, in encouraging it, and moreover surrounding himself with some of these fringe characters, and I hate to say it, General Flynn, who I backed 100% in terms of his pardon, is one of those leading the president down this path, this crazy path. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the damn election. Now let's just move on from there and stop this ridiculous nonsense that makes everyone look half-baked. Thanks.
Okay, so Geraldo, your new voice of reason. So Twitter kind of lit up with some very prominent folks like Don Winslow, the author, who we follow each other, and I respect Don a lot. But he's like, hey, basically, forget you, Geraldo. There's no way you're coming back. So I think that's wrong. Now, Geraldo said a bunch of stuff on Fox during the Trump administration that wasn't productive and helped the Trump cause in terms of dividing the nation. But he's no Kellyanne Conway or Rudy Giuliani. He's no Stephen Miller. So we have to make a call as reasonable people as we pivot into the Biden administration. We start to be able to work across the aisle. With Trump out, we can hopefully start to actually address the issues and not just this cult of personality, this feed the narcissistic beast every day. Already, Pelosi and McConnell have met in order to get this COVID-19 stimulus package passed. There's this thing called the Problem Solvers Caucus, which seems weird. Isn't that what Congress is supposed to do writ large? Do they need a caucus that's dedicated to solving problems? But there you go. And the Problem Solvers Caucus works across the aisle to get things like the COVID stimulus package passed. So I'm suggesting that we should err on the side of forgiveness for the Trump supporters that come out of the cold like Geraldo apparently seems to be doing. Because we're going to need all hands on deck to solve these major issues in front of us. So if you have, like me, former squadron mates and academy classmates and high school buddies and who you lost during the Trump years because of what they posted on Facebook, keep an open mind and watch what happens once Biden takes office. And if they show a change of heart, I recommend you welcome them back. We're going to need everybody to solve our problems. And holding a grudge just because isn't going to help us. All right. As always, thanks for your support of this new channel. Subscribe, tell a friend, share, like, comment. Let's get the conversation going down below. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.